day, everybody. I'm Mark David Smith. I'm the owner of the Messianic Lamb Network, and I have Yossi here with me.
Shalom,
Yossi,
everybody. Shalom. Shalom,
good
Mark.
to see you. We missed you last week.
Yes, it was Lag BaOmer last week, so I should have mentioned that the week before, but anyway. So welcome to another Hakham Jo podcast for the Lamb Network.tv. And this is the Jesus, the Scribal Pharisee show, where we talk about a very orthodox Jewish perspective on Jesus of Nazareth from the old school of the Litvak Perishim before World War II. That tradition comes down to us from Rashi and the Tosafists and the Sefer Hasidim, Yehuda HaHasid, and it also comes through Jacob Emden, Elijah Soloveitchik, and the Litvak Perishim, right up until World War II, and was revived after World War II by Rabbi Harvey Oscar Falk, an Orthodox Jew, who wrote the book Jesus the Pharisee, and we named this show after that book. If you're interested to know about the things he discovered, you can write to us, send us an email, patechomor@gmail.com, or you can write to Mark, and we will send you a copy of that text so that you are up to date and informed on the concept of Jesus as a scribal Pharisee and how to read his teachings from that point of view. I am an Orthodox Jew, and I encourage people who call themselves Messianic Jews to stop calling yourselves Messianic Jews. And I suppose that makes me unique on this channel. Is that right, Mark? Am I the only person who would say that?
Well, yeah, but, you know, we like you though.
So I'm the only one who would say that, but I do say go and call yourselves Messianic Hebrews, because there's nothing at all halakhically whatsoever to stop you from doing so. Call yourselves Messianic Hebrews, embrace the concept, embrace the name, because Orthodox Judaism wouldn't deny that Christians are Hebrews. We just say that they're from a different branch of the Hebrew family. We do acknowledge that Christians and Muslims, as well as Jews, all descend from the family of Abraham, spiritually and physically. And in the case of Muslims and Christians, where you just make a convert, we recognize the right of a Christian to convert somebody to Christianity, and they become part of Abraham's family. And we recognize the right of a Muslim to convert somebody to Islam, and they become part of Abraham's family. But you might disagree, although we've talked about it in this channel many times before, but I'll say it again, might disagree with exactly which branch of Abraham's family we say that Christians and Muslims come from. Muslims actually don't have a problem with us saying they come from the branch of Ishmael. And so they are descendants of Abraham through Ishmael, and that is their sort of tribe, if you like. As for Christians and Jews, we are closer because we both come from Isaac. Isaac is the line that we come from, but Jews say that Christians come through the line of Edom, who is Esau, and we come from the line of Jacob, who is Israel. And with that small difference, we can all get along fine. And I suppose the thing is that it's difficult for Christians to accept the Orthodox Jewish perspective on Edom and Esau representing Christianity, because the idea in Christianity, I think predominant idea in Christianity, that Edom, Esau is evil, and therefore it's not very nice to say that Christians represent Edom. However, that's not the way Jews perceive things. Christians might also say that Ishmael is evil, but you can always identify who's a real Jew and who's a fake Jew by asking them, what do you think of Ishmael? And if they say, oh, he's wicked, blah, 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 then you know that they're fake Jews. And if he says, well, he was a righteous son of Abraham, then you know they're real Jews, because in Orthodox Judaism, we have many rabbis through history who are called Rabbi Ishmael because he was righteous, but not as a Jew. He was righteous as a Noahide. He was uncircumcised for most of his life. Whereas Edom is different. He was circumcised on the 8th day. He was brought up with the same education as Jacob, and we consider Edom to be Jewish. He's a Jew, but he's an apostate Jew. For us, you might have guessed, we don't say that Jews have got anything to do with the tribe of Judah, neither to do with the kingdom of Judah. For us, the word Judaism in our language is Yahadut, which means thanksgiving, graciousness, giving thanks and praise. It's basically thanks and praise. It comes from the root word hod and hoda rabbah, to give thanks. Great thanks is the same root. So hoda'ah is the root of Yahadut, which is to give thanks and praise to God. So it's got nothing to do with the tribe of Judah or the people of Judah at all whatsoever. That's a European concept from people who are of European descent. And they believe that this is why we're called Jews. We're not. We're called Jews because it's the religion of thanks and praise. And a Yehudi is somebody who gives thanks and praise. Hence, it's important to recognize from an Orthodox Jewish perspective, when you see references to Mordecai in the book of Esther being called a Benjaminite and a Yehudi, there's no contradiction. Because he's living in Persia, he's an exiled Jew. He was not born in the country or province of Judea. His parents were not born in Judea. His grandparents were not born in Judea. They were all born in Persia. And he's from the tribe of Benjamin. And yet he's called a Yehudi. How? If the word Yehudi has got anything to do with the province of Judah or Judeans or the tribe of Judah, there's no reason at all whatsoever that Mordecai should be called Yehudi, but he is called Yehudi. And why is he called Yehudi? Because Yehud has got nothing to do with the tribe of Judah or the province of Judea or anything to do with that at all whatsoever. It's literally just the word we give to our religion, Yahadut, which means giving thanks and praise to God. And that is our religion. And so there's no reason why anybody in the world shouldn't have the same religion. Mark here, I won't deny, I would say that Mark is he's not a Jew, he's a Hebrew, but I won't deny that his religion is Judaism, and he's a good practitioner of Judaism. He practices Judaism, as a non-Jew should practice Judaism by keeping the 7 laws of Noah. His religion is Judaism. Absolutely. I wouldn't say Messianic Judaism or anything else like, I won't, qualify it by saying anything other than Yahadut. That's his religion, Judaism. He's not from the tribe of Judah, I don't believe. He's not from Judea, he wasn't born there, neither were his parents were born there, right? Yeah, none of your parents were born there. But just like Mordecai was born in Persia and was from a tribe of Benjamin, and yet he was a Yehudi, from that sense, I won't deny that Mark is Yehudi, in the sense that his religion is Yahadut. Fine, no problem, absolutely. But there is a distinction between somebody who practices Yahudut and is Jewish by virtue of their religion versus somebody who is Jewish by the law. And the law is what is the reason why I would say, don't call yourself a Jew, call yourself a Hebrew in English, because there are some concepts there's a baggage which goes with the word Jew, which frankly speaking, from the Orthodox Jewish perspective, Mark doesn't have, and other Messianic Jews don't have, and Messianic Hebrews don't have, and neither do Muslims. And frankly speaking, neither do many people in Israel who call themselves Jews. They don't have those qualities either. But there are certain qualities, legalistic qualities, which have to be satisfied in order for you to be called a Jew by the scribes and the Pharisees, the non-hypocritical scribes and Pharisees, as opposed to the hypocrite scribes and Pharisees. There are some requirements you have to satisfy according to the scribes and Pharisees, the non-hypocritical scribes and Pharisees, in order to be a Jew. And since Jesus of Nazareth appointed the scribes and Pharisees, the non-hypocritical scribes and Pharisees, as the head of his church, oh yes, he did. This is the most controversial thing I say on this channel, and yet it's completely backed up by the Bible. Gospel of Matthew, chapter 23, verses 1-3. He appointed them as the head of his church. Therefore, you had better respect the rules that they have with regards to saying who is a Jew and who is not a Jew. That is, if you respect Jesus of Nazareth at all whatsoever, you should do so. And any other clergy who say that they represent the authority appointed in place by Jesus of Nazareth on the planet Earth is, frankly speaking, lying, deceiving, and we can say that they are the ones who basically calling themselves or taking the position of being Jews when they are not. and therefore the Bible calls them a synagogue of Satan. And that's not me. This is just the words from the text in the context of the Bible. What do you think, Mark? Am I going too far?
No, you're really good. I've got a good page going already. Of I had not heard you put this in the Abrahamic family. I had not heard you put that in perspective before, and now that you've said it, it makes so much sense that it helps to see your place. That is not a in other words, I'm not looking at myself as a low place, but just a part of the family.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
it doesn't mean that one is better or higher in hierarchy than the other, but
Right.
you are a part of the Abrahamic family.
Right.
I like that a lot.
It's very important, and it's true. We are one Abrahamic family. Whether that's Ishmael, Edom, or Jacob, we're one family. Edom and Jacob were closer because they were twin brothers. They were twins. They were not identical twins, non-identical. One was hairy, the other was smooth. One was fair, the other one was red-headed. And but we are twins. And the important thing is here that Judaism doesn't deny that Christians are from that family. We simply say that you're from your sort of core root branch. The root branch was an apostate, but that doesn't cut you off from being a Hebrew.
Right.
It doesn't cut you off from
Right.
being Abraham's family.
Right.
And I think that's what the story of the prodigal son is all about.
I like it.
It's like the prodigal son is the story of your ancestor, your spiritual ancestor.
Right.
In a sense.
But for instance, you could have a cousin that is constantly in trouble and going to prison and everything, and you don't want to have anything to do with him, but it doesn't make any difference. He is still part of the family.
He's still family. And
I get it.
That's right. And if you're not going to let him starve to death, you're going to make sure that he's got some food. You're going to try and send a job his way. You wouldn't want to associate with him, but you would want to do something to help because you're family. And that is exactly the right way of looking at the Jews, Christians, and Muslims. We're family, and we don't like the way each of us has decided to live our lives. Okay, but we're still family, and we have to get over that. We have to stop fighting, and we have to get along. And in fact, the story, of course, with Jacob and Esau is that they did stop fighting. They embraced each other and they got along until Jacob died. And the story of Ishmael and Isaac is that they got along as well. And they were living in the same place when their father died, and they buried him together. So we can have a punch-up, we can have a fight in our youth, but in the end, we've got to calm down and we've got to come together. We've got to find the common ground, and we've got to stop the poison. We've got to stop shouting and spitting the poison at each other because it's not healthy. It's not good for us. I mean, you're just spitting at your own DNA, if you like. In this case, our spiritual DNA. You're spitting at a different part of the spirit. So you must not do that. And I think that's what Jesus is meaning when he says he causes the sun to shine on everybody equally, on the righteous and on the non-righteous alike. And I think a lot of what Jesus is saying was about the prodigal son and bringing the prodigal son back home, bringing him back into the folds. He went and he said specifically, I haven't come for those who are well, I've come for those who are sick. People who are well don't need a physician. It's those who are sick who need a physician. And Orthodox Judaism will say exactly, that's what we say Jesus did. That's what he came for. He came for the descendants of Esau, and that's not just physical descendants, but spiritual descendants of Esau too. He came for the remnant of Edom, which is what the book of Acts chapter 15 specifically says, that he came for, and it translates as the remnant of man, but the passage it's quoting is Amos, where the word for man, which is used in Amos, is Edom. So he came specifically for Edom, and to bring them back into the folds. And that's literally the teaching of Judaism. So there's no difference there. If we can focus on this common ground that we have between the New Testament and the Orthodox Jewish interpretation, then we've really made great progress towards being reunited under the tent of Abraham. And I think that's extremely important for us to do.
Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot. Very good.
So that also requires us to be the same towards Muslims. Muslims are difficult.
Yeah.
They are difficult. Christians are difficult too. I mean, from a Jewish perspective, we historically have had less trouble from Muslims than we have from Christians. At this particular point in time, it is easiest for us to speak to Christians than it is to speak to Muslims, because Muslims are busy stabbing us in different synagogues and blowing us up, mainly because of the actions of the Likud party in the state of Israel. That's really the source of all the trouble, or I should say the actions of nationalists in the state of Israel who have no interest in Judaism, but who have embraced an idol, the flag behind you as an idol. They've embraced it as an idol, and they think that is their God. And that causes Muslims currently to hate us. But that wasn't always the case. There were times, for example, in World War II, not that long ago, in World War II, Muslims in Bosnia were helping save Jews. They were helping us to hide in their houses and to dress up as Muslims on the streets and things like that. Bosnia was one of the safe places to go if you're a Jew during the Holocaust. If you could escape and you didn't know where to go, Bosnia. That was where you would try to get to Yugoslavia. You would try to go to Bosnia. You would try to go to Albania even. These Muslims and European Muslims were our friends just during the Holocaust. And you wouldn't know where else to go. I mean, at the time, you wouldn't think, well, let's give one of those Christian families a chance. During the Holocaust, you wouldn't. But if there was a Muslim, you'd say, oh, we could give a Muslim a chance. Maybe they all look after us. And that was an option for us during World War II. Not now, but it was then. But we have something in common with all of them. And that's all the religions have something in common. If Muslims, I don't suppose there are any Muslims watching this, unless they've come from my show and they've come to watch this one, because I don't do my show anymore. So this is the only show I do. And if they are watching, then we have something in common, Muslims, Christians, and Jews, in that we believe, whether Muslims recognize this or not, because it's sometimes difficult to say to them, we believe in this intercessor, which the word in Arabic is the Rasul, which is the Rosh El in Hebrew, or the chief angel, like the archangel, you might call it in Christianity, the archangel. Now, I know that Christianity has sort of developed many archangels. They have many angels, and then they have the archangels, and I think they have maybe 7 archangels or something like that. But in Judaism, there's only one archangel. In Islam, there's only one archangel, and it should be the same with Christianity too. So I would encourage Messianic Hebrews to consider this. Every time you hear the word angel or archangel, just translate into your head, they're talking about angels. Because for us, in this family, there is only one archangel, which is the ruler of the angels, or the prince of the angels, and that is Hashem, which is for us the name of God, the presence of the Lord, who appeared to the 70 elders on Mount Sinai, who appeared to Joshua, who appeared to Elijah and to Ezekiel and to Isaiah, and many, many more in physical form, and appeared to Abraham as 3 visitors. This is the archangel. This is the Rosh El. This is the Rasul, if you're a Muslim. And it is wrong to identify the Rosh El, the Rasul, the archangel. It is wrong to identify him with a human being. So this is my message to Muslims if they are going to watch. Stop calling your Muhammad as a Rasul. He is not the Rasul. The word Muhammad is a name from the Bible. It's a Mahmad in the Hebrew Bible, and it refers to Hashem, to the Rosh El, to the archangel. In the Song of Solomon, Song of Songs, it says in chapter 5, verse 16, he is altogether lovely. And there's a Christian hymn about this. It's altogether lovely.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
This phrase, which they're saying in English, altogether lovely, is the direct translation of the Hebrew word Muhammad, which is where the Arabics get the word Muhammad from. Muhammad, same thing. And so when you're saying he's altogether lovely, you're literally singing, he is Muhammad, he is Muhammad. That's what you're saying.
Wow.
But you're saying it in English rather than Hebrew and not in Arabic, because he is the only Muhammad for us. Whether you're a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim in the original faith, there is only one Muhammad, and that is him. And there is none other. And he is the one who is the beloved, the one who comes down and guides us. And that's what the Song of Solomon is about. Have you seen him? And he came and he tried to handle the door. What we're talking about here is not what we call in Judaism, is not Ein Sof, is not the infinite God, the Father Almighty out there beyond the universe, who, if he were to step into the universe would be torn asunder because it could not possibly contain him. That is the infinite one, the Father, Avinu Malkeinu. But he does have a presence which he sends into the world. And that is the one who appeared on Mount Sinai, the one who appeared to Joshua, etc. we just mentioned. And that is the one who appeared to Abraham as three, who is the Rosh El, the Rasul, the altogether lovely one, the true and one and only Muhammad, which is actually, in Christian sense, Jesus of Nazareth. And there is no, this is interesting, if you want to say this to Muslim, you might irritate them, you might annoy them. We know the Muslims say, they have this phrase, there is no God but God, and Muhammad is his messenger. Well, what you might say if you're a Christian is that there is no Muhammad but Jesus. And that might help them understand that Muhammad is not a human being. And they're always saying, you know, that Jesus is a human. And that's their position. But then they take the name Rasul and they bring it down to a human level, which is not right. That is equally as wrong from a point of view of Judaism as a Christian, from their point of view, saying a man is God. To call a man God is equal as calling the archangel a man.
Yeah. Okay, actually, I get you.
You'd both got it wrong. You know, if Christians think that Jesus was just a man who is God, who's been elevated to the position of God, then that's wrong. And if Muslims think that Rasul is actually just a man, and they're bringing that concept down to being just a man, conceived in a normal way and born and brought up in a normal way, then that's also wrong. Because the Rasul, the archangel, that's Memtet, the one who visits us, he's called the son, or he's called the one like a son of man. He is like a son of man in every way. He appears to be human, but is actually not human. This is where the Anabaptists got it right, and where the Roman Catholics and the Protestants and the Nestorians and every other group, they got it wrong. The Anabaptists got it right when you look into official Anabaptist Christology, and you ask them, what is the nature of Jesus's physical body? And the answer the Anabaptist gives is celestial flesh. I like this. This is good. Celestial flesh. That's interesting. I like this phrase. So wait a second. So when you say celestial flesh, what do you mean? He had a physical body, but his flesh was not of this world. Well, then, Mr. Anabaptist, congratulations. We, the Orthodox Jews, do not have a problem with you, because you've got the right Christology there for fitting Jesus of Nazareth as basically being an appearance of the archangel. Fantastic. Wonderful. If we ask any other Christian group about that, then they're going to say, oh, well, Jesus was 100% man and 100% God. This is diophysitism, the two natures of Jesus.
Yeah.
Or they might go further if they're Nestorians and say that he had two complete personas. But those answers are wrong. Those answers would be mixing the celestial being with the human flesh, and would imply breeding or crossbreeding. And as you know, in Judaism, this crossbreeding concept is not popular. A donkey is okay, a horse is okay,
Right.
but a mule is not okay, because a mule is a crossbred creature.
Right,
And we're not supposed to do this crossbreeding. We don't even like crossbreeding plants and things like that. So we don't want to sow our gardens with a mixed seed. We want to have nice, neat rows of, I don't know, lettuce down here and parsley down here in a nice, neat rows. We don't want to have mixed seed. So the concept of Jesus of Nazareth being a mixed seed of diophysite, two natures of 100% God and 100% man, two natures united and but not mixed. It's just another way of saying mixed. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
It's another way of saying mixed, united but not mixed. But actually, you know, fundamentally, they are mixed in one person. Even it's what you would call, in modern science, you would call it a Klinefelter mosaic. If you're interested, anybody, if you want to know about a mosaic, genetic mosaic, you can Google the picture and ask, what is a genetic mosaic? How do you see it under ultraviolet light? And it'll show you that there are some people out there who are genetic mosaics, where they have, what is a genetic mosaic? A genetic mosaic is in the womb, twins become one body. It can also, it can happen that one egg splits into two twins, but it can also happen that uterine twins merge into one body. And when that happens, you end up with something called the Klinefelter mosaic. And the only way to know if they're Klinefelter mosaic is you shine an ultraviolet light on them, and there's stripes all across their body. They have stripes. And the reason why they have stripes is because they are two natures combined. Not mixed, actually, combined. Okay, so they're like this. It's not mixed up and jumbled, it's perfectly arranged. And so basically, by saying that Jesus is a diophysite, you're basically saying, well, he's like a mosaic. He's a mosaic between God and a human, which is basically meaning God mated with a human, and the offspring was Jesus. And that's where it goes all wrong, isn't it? That's where it's
yeah. I agree.
You know, so
that's just wrong.
It's just wrong.
It's just wrong. It's about as wrong as what do they call it when they? Gosh, the word doesn't come to me. When they clone somebody, it's almost it's just as wrong as, you know, that type of.
Well, the thing is, they say that this is the orthodox Christian position. And so, unfortunately, you're never going to be an Orthodox Christian if you are trying to follow a biblical Judaic approach to understanding Jesus of Nazareth. You will be probably, they'll say, oh, you called him an angel just now. That means you're an Arian, for example. And the Muslims were called Arians, and every enemy of the church is called Arian. And it's quite funny they use this word Arianism all the time to refer to every kind of heretic when they don't like them. Because Arius himself was guilty of the concept of mixing the natures. He was the heresy of Arianism was originally the concept that he believed that Jesus was a demigod who was the product of the offspring of God who had mated with a human being. And that was the offspring, a mixed offspring. So it's quite ironic that we who would preserve Jesus from that concept, if we were saying, okay, well, no, we're not going to say that he was. You've got two options with Jesus. One is you can say he was a human being, and it's been exaggerated into being like having any kind of angelic quality. Or two, you can say, now he was actually a kind of like an angel, the prince of angels, the king of angels, and but he came and appeared as a human, and therefore we consider him to have been a human. And these two different positions are basically the Muslim position versus the Christian position. And I promote and support the Christian position. And my friend, my colleague, Rabbi Ben Abrahamson, he promotes the Muslim position. But we decided a long time ago together between us that one of us would take the Muslim position and one of us would take the Christian position, and we would try to make sense of these positions from a Judaic perspective. So Ben Abrahamson took the Muslim position and tried to make sense of it from a Jewish position, and I took this Christian position and tried to make sense of it, and the answer is a celestial flesh, angelic. Jesus, and I don't mean he was an angel. He was a slightly, you could say, he appeared to be human every single way, and he was not one of what we call the Nifradim in Judaism. It's not easy to find a words in English to try and explain this, but in Judaism we would say he's not of the Nifradim. He is of the Netiot. And the word to translate Nifradim and Netiot in English is angel. So we haven't really got the words in English to try and say it. But so I could say he wasn't an angel, but he was an angel. And that means he wasn't a Nifrad, he was a Netiot. And that's the difference in Hebrew. So he was Netiot, and I'm trying to use this word archangel because it conveys a different kind of angel. It's not exactly of the angels, because to which of the angels did God ever say, "This is my firstborn son"?
Right.
To which of the angels did God say, sit at my right hand until I've made your enemies a footstool for your feet"? To which one? The answer in Judaism is clear: to the Netiot. It's a simple answer. to the Netiot. There is no other answer. If you ask us to which angel do you say this, the answer is, the Netiot, of course. Not the Nifradim, to the Netiot. We know the answer. The Christians use this as an excuse to say, well, therefore Jesus wasn't an angel, because these verses are saying, to which angel did he ever say this? But the answer is Netiot. It means, well, he didn't say it to regular angels. He said it to the chief of angels, if you like.
But all in all, don't they all fall under the heading of messenger?
Sure, they are. They are all angelos, if you like. Yeah, that messenger. They're all messengers. Yeah, they are all, but it's a different kind. You see.
I see what you're saying, but your base foundation comes from that. It's just who God chooses, and
is the main difference is this: Rabbeinu Bachya. Remember this name, everybody who's watching. Rabbeinu Bachya. Rabbeinu Bachya, in his explanation of it's basically a Kabbalic explanation of the book of Exodus, goes into detail of explaining this angelic nature to us. And one of the key things he says about the Netiot is that the Netiot is uncreated. The Netiot is not created. It's very important. Whereas the other angels are created. And Rabbeinu Bachya tells us that the Netiot is an emanation. He is not created. He emanates from the infinite, from Ein Sof. This is Rabbeinu Bachya in his commentary on Exodus. So very important to understand the difference. If you want to know the difference between Netiot and Nifradim, the Nifradim angels were created. The Netiot, I'm using the term here archangel, and I'm saying there's only one archangel. The archangel himself was uncreated and is a manifestation, an emanation of Hashem himself. That is Rabbeinu Bachya's explanation. Therefore, when God says, be sure to do everything he says, for he will not forgive, and he will not forgive your transgression, Rabbeinu Bachya tells us what this means is, you must accept him in the position of God himself and do everything he says as if he is God himself, because if you reject this position of accepting him as God himself, then you will not be forgiven. That's what it means.
Oh, well, that kind of just fits into where we still are calling Yeshua God.
Right.
It still falls under that heading.
So it's not a wrong thing to do. I've tried to say on this channel many times.
I get it. I'm
not
following.
A wrong thing to do if you understand Netiot.
I get it.
This, not a problem. If inside of you somewhere you still think that Jesus was a genetic offspring of Mary and maybe Joseph too, then to call him God is complete and utter blasphemy.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, right.
And unfortunately, many Christians do believe that maybe he was the son of the Virgin in some spiritual way, but not really, because maybe Joseph was really his father. Or some of them say that he was the physical offspring of Mary and God, which means that he was part human, and therefore to call him God is blasphemy. However, if he was just celestial flesh, as the Anabaptists say, And he just popped into Mary because he can do that, and appeared and grew inside of her as a baby to be born, and was born and grew up amongst us. Then it's just another way that the Netiot likes to appear. He has appeared as a pillar of fire, as a column of smoke. He appeared as a lamb on the mountain when Abraham went up to sacrifice Isaac, and there was nothing there, and then suddenly he appeared as a lamb. He appeared as a burning bush, and he appeared as a man holding a sword. He's appeared as many things throughout history. He's appeared in all of his glory on the throne in the temple. Isaiah saw him there. Ezekiel saw him leaving the temple and his throne in his chariot. And the 70 elders on Pentecost, which is coming just a couple of weeks later, the 70 elders saw him when they went up on Pentecost, and they had a feast, and they saw his sapphire throne hovering in the sky like a UFO. So he has a physical presence in our universe, and that Hashem has a physical presence in our universe, and that physical presence in our universe is the Netiot.
Yeah.
Hence, we must obey and do everything he says, because he will not forgive our rejection of him.
Right.
This is
interesting. You probably heard the expression that person is so spiritually minded, they're no earthly good. Well, it also works in the reverse. Some people can be so earthly minded that they don't look at things spiritually. When you're looking at it the way you were just talking, it's like I compare what's in the Word of God to how things work in the world. In other words, I don't understand God's way of doing things or the spiritual possible aspects of it. It's just I can't get past the fact that I understand how the world works, and so now I'm going to apply that to biblical principles. Right. I see that a lot in Christianity.
This is a problem, because God's ways are not our ways, and if you do that, you'll just. There was a, I don't remember who told me this story now. It was about maybe it was a tzaddik of some, or maybe it was a Hasidic story about some Rebbe, and he had a dream, or he had a near-death experience. He was very sick and maybe he died, but he came back and he was healed. And they asked him, what was it like? And he said, everything, it was difficult to explain. I can't put it into words, he said, but everything was the opposite of this world. Everything was upside down. And the person his teacher, who he was telling this story to, said, no, what you saw is the way things should be, and that everything is actually upside down in this world. This is the world where everything is upside down. Everything is the wrong way around. So it's extremely difficult for people to try and find the spiritual path,
right?
Because it's buried in the corner of the internet where nobody's watching, or something like, and the big way of all the people out there is definitely wrong. It's absolutely definitely wrong. That's why you should never get too wrapped up in politics, Mark, because the way of the majority is definitely the way of the way of those.
I know. I get it. I get it.
Do not. I would say. I mean, this is not something which. This is probably Americans won't like me for, but I would say don't vote at all for any. Don't vote for any candidate. They both represent the devil. Both of them. So don't ever vote. If you want to do something with your time, instead of going to vote, go to a homeless shelter or something and go and look after some people for a day. That's a good thing to do. And you're then you are doing the exact opposite of the world. Then you are doing something upside down. And that's actually the way it should be. It should be that way. If you should be countercultural, is what I'm trying to say. If the majority of people are MAGA, then you should not be MAGA. If the majority of people are Obama, then you should be MAGA. Do you see what I mean? I get it. Yeah. You've got to be countercultural. You've got to be countercultural, because if you're not countercultural, then you're in danger of being sucked in by the world. And when you're sucked in by the world, you're in.
I agree with you to a certain point, but then there are people that have the ability to reason things out, and they can make their own decisions, whether it has anything to do with the majority of people or whatever. It's interesting. Before the show today, I always watch news first thing in the morning. In a segment that I saw, I'm sure you're familiar with the new mayor of New York, Mamdani, who is a Muslim. And last night they had a huge, what they're calling an anti-Semitism protest in front of a big Jewish center or something like that. And we're watching the segment, and my wife responded to it, and I said, it's not anti-Semitism, it's anti-Zionism is what they're doing. Because a lot of those people are Muslims that are out there that are against the Jewish way of whatever they're doing. So they're not anti-Semites, they're anti-Zionism.
Anti-Zionism, and that's totally fine. There are thousands. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 million Jews in New York who are anti-Zionist. So that's absolutely totally fine. You're not going to be accused of being of anti-Semitic or anti-God or anything like that if you're anti-Zionist. I don't like the term anti-Zionism though, because I'm a spiritual person, and for me Zion is a spiritual place, and the rule of God goes out from Mount Zion. However, I am opposed to the concept of saying that Mount Zion is a physical place on the planet Earth. No, it's not. The mountain of God is actually to do with the Sabbath. And the rule goes out from the Sabbath. So this is my interpretation. So I don't like to criticize the word Zion. I don't like to criticize the word Israel, because these are sacred names for me.
Sure.
But I can understand why anybody who doesn't understand Judaism would do so. And I can understand the movement in Judaism. There's something called the diasporist movement, as opposed to Zionists. They call themselves diasporists instead of Zionists. And I'd say I'm pretty much a diasporist in every single way, except that I love the word Zion, because I'm spiritual and religious, and I do understand the importance of this word Zion. But I think that the word Zionism, as it stands today, I mean, I'm a bit odd. I mean, if I say my opinions too much, then I'm going to get all the Orthodox Jews on my back, because I will say something nice about Theodor Herzl, and they're going to say, how can you say anything nice about Theodor Herzl, the founder of Zionism? But I think he was a nice guy, and I think he didn't have evil intentions. I think he had good things on his mind. He was just trying to do something good the way he saw available at his time. But the way Zionism is today is nothing like what Theodor Herzl envisioned. He didn't envision anything like that. And people make up all sorts of nasty things about Theodor Herzl, saying that he thought that he should encourage anti-Semitism to encourage everybody to move to the Holy Land, and that's not true at all. But this is the sort of conspiracy theories you hear against Theodor Herzl. He was a nice guy. He had a nice idea, and I think he was a spiritual Zionist. Even though he wanted people to physically move to the land of Israel. Whereas people who call themselves Zionists today are nothing like what Theodor Herzl envisioned. They go around spitting on Christians in Jerusalem, and they go around burning down Christian churches in the Holy Land. And Theodor Herzl said that in his vision, if the Jews lived together in a state, that we would put the world to shame by showing how wonderful we are to strangers, by loving the Christians and never persecuting them, by loving the Muslims and never persecuting them, by showing our love to the stranger. We would put them to shame of how they treated us while we were living amongst them. So this is Theodor Herzl's vision, and I can tell you that is not what's happening in the state of Israel today. The exact opposite of Theodor Herzl's vision is happening in the state of Israel. So I'm not going to say Theodor Herzl was wrong and his concept of Zionism was wrong. I'm not going to, which is going to make all the Orthodox Jews bite me now. And I'm not going to say that the state of Israel and their interpretation of Zionism is right. So it's like, well, what do you mean? If you can't say that Theodore Herzl wasn't wrong, but the state of Israel isn't right. And I'm saying, well, I'm exactly saying that. I'm neither this nor that. I support him on this point and I reject them on that point. So I'm literally in the middle. And I just want to find the truth. And the truth of the matter is, the word Zion is a nice word. The word Israel is a nice word. These are holy names, and they should have holy spiritual meanings. And it's not right for us to criticize and say things like death to Israel or down with Zionism, because these sentences are like attacking holy names. At the same time, I 100% reject anybody who calls himself Israel, but is not standing in a minyan, for example, is not wanting to stand or pray in a minyan. I reject 100% anybody who calls himself Zionist and is showing any kind of animosity to any kind of foreigner, because that's not what Theodore Herzl wanted, and that was not his vision. So very different, as I said, countercultural. But this countercultural, it just came to me, this verse, and I found it when we were talking. It's in Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 to 14. If you want to find it while I read it, Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 and 14. And this is about being countercultural. It's extremely important. So my position is countercultural. If the culture is polarized, I'm going to find the middle. I'm not going to be this way or that way. If the culture is one way, I'll be in the opposite way. And if they come this way, I'll go to the opposite way again. I will be countercultural because it is the narrow path. It is the unusual route. Have you found it yet, Mark?
Yeah, sure. Hold up. Let me put it up here. Share screen. Running slow today. I don't know why. Okay. So can you read that? You want me to make it bigger?
Yeah. So this is the first.
If you'll read right here, it says starting with 12, and everything then do unto others as you would have them do to you, for this is the essence of the law and the prophets. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the way that leads to life, and only a few find it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about here. So you're not going to find it if you go with the majority. You're not going to find it if you go with the broad path. Can you read verse 12 again, that passage? Just what did it say about broad is the way?
In everything, then do to others as you would have them do to you.
Which is Hillel, yeah.
For this is the essence of the law and the prophets.
Yeah. And enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction.
Yeah.
And there are many who go in by it, that go into destruction by the broad gate. So just keep away from the majority. If everybody is walking that way, don't walk that way. Do the opposite. Whatever they're doing, do the opposite. And this way you'll be countercultural, and this way you're certain not to go with the many into perdition, into destruction, into Gehinnom. So we don't want that.
I get it. I'm with you.
And it's a passage is right next to him quoting Hillel, hence I think every Jew knows this. We may have seen that, oh yes, Jesus quotes Hillel here, and then it's exactly the next line. So it's quite an important point for I would say, for Messianic Hebrews. And you are countercultural in many ways, but make sure that you're not walking with the majority into perdition as well, because it's not how you look on the outside. It's not my kippah, it's not my black and white costume. It's not how I look, it's not my beard. It's not how I look on the outside. It's how I am on the inside, which is what distinguishes me from the majority. That's also what we were talking about earlier about seeing things with spiritual eyes versus seeing things with the material eyes. It's easy for somebody to look at you and say, oh, well, you look like a Jew. But what if I didn't have these outside trappings? Would somebody look at me and say I was a Jew? Probably not. But they might, and I hope, and this is more valuable, they might say, he's a nice guy. Mm-hmm. And that's more valuable to me than somebody who looks at me and says, oh, he's a Jew, because he looks like that. If I'm a nice guy and I bring honor and respect to the way I appear, then Baruch Hashem, I'm causing the nations to bless God's name. If I dress this way and I'm a nasty person, then I'm going to be causing the nations to curse God's name. And I think that's also, Paul says, God's name is cursed among the Gentiles because of you. This is actually he's quoting one of the prophets. So we should be thinking about how we are on the inside. And that is also, you know, what we would like our Muslim brothers to understand as well. But we've got to try and come together with this concept of the intercessor, the intermediary, that is Hashem in the physical form, Netiot, Jesus Christ for the Christian, Rasul for the Muslim. And we've got to make sure that Christians understand that this is not a human who has become Rasul, and this we've got to make the Muslims understand, and this is not a Rasul which has become a human. No, this is Rasul, this is Rochelle, this is Netiot, this is the archangel who appeared to be a human and lived a human life for us to be able to reach and comprehend him, but and especially the nations to be able to comprehend him, but is actually, to use the Anabaptist phrase, celestial flesh. Makes a very nice nice sentence. This is not, if he had some flesh from Mary, it was because he drank her milk, for example, like that. It was not something that he was created with. He wasn't created in this flesh. He is from above. He comes down to us. And in this also, we should probably get into it one day. We've got 5 minutes, so I'm not going to get into a big story of it now. But we have to understand where he came down from. He came down from heaven. Okay, but we have to understand what is heaven in Orthodox Judaism from the point of view of the believers. And heaven always meant the same thing in the Abrahamic faiths until the Pope, I can't remember his name, the Pope who opposed Galileo decided that it should mean something different. And these days, a lot of the time, people think about heaven, they're using the anti-Galilean perspective. Why did the Pope create this new perspective on heaven? Because Galileo had a telescope, a really good one, and he could see the moons around Jupiter. And that's why we call them the Galilean moons. But the Pope could not see those moons. And the Pope said, basically, you, Galileo, are not a member of the church. You are not with our authority, and you have no knowledge of heaven. Heaven is our knowledge, not yours. When Galileo proved that these moons exist and that anybody with a telescope could see them, and I've seen them too, it's a very nice thing when you can use a telescope and see these things. To know and to realize, if you do get a chance, get a telescope and watch these moons, to remember this, when you're looking at those moons, you are now seeing heaven in such a way that made the Pope change the Catholic definition of heaven so that heaven means something else than what it did at that time. In Judaism, it still means the same thing because we're not under the Catholic Church. We've never been under the Pope, and the Pope has not changed our opinion. Galileo saw the moons of Jupiter in heaven because Jupiter is in heaven, and so is the moon, and so is the sun. They are all in heaven. And recently, we've had some human beings, 4 of them in Artemis 2, went around the moon in heaven. And they went to heaven and they came back to Earth. And these days they call it space. But that's not the Judaic perspective. It's heaven. And another thing is this.
That's good.
Anything that comes from heaven is good. When the messengers are coming down from heaven to tell us something, we listen to them. We always have. They're on our side and they're doing good things. And anybody who tries to encourage you that there are some evil things up there in heaven, that there are evil things in heaven that you should be afraid of because they're going to come and attack us one day, then you know that such a person is possessed by demons and is speaking with evil spirits, what we call dibukim. That is not the way of Judaism. We do not consider them to be our enemies. And so any movies which are trying to say that things from heaven are evil, you know that those are...
1 minute. Yeah, 1 minute left.
That's the end of my
We're
comment.
done.
Yeah. That's a tough one. We'll get into it more in the future.
So good. So good. I love it. That's good. All right. Well, I learned quite a little bit today. Got to... oh, my gosh. This is so good. So interesting. We got several things we'll bring up as we go on. And so we'll be back next week and talk about more and take it from here. What have we got left in the counting of the Omer?
It's just 2 weeks left. I think we've got 2 weeks.
Yeah, 13 days, I think, maybe.
13 days, yeah. So that's it. So then it is Shavuot, Pentecost.
Right.
That's the day when they went up to the mountain of God and they saw him on his throne in heaven, coming down from heaven. Because everything that comes down from heaven is a good thing.
That's right.
It's a good thing. I hope that I will see what they call a UFO and have a close encounter of the third kind, as Spielberg put it, because that means I'm going to be seeing the throne coming down from heaven. I'm not going to be opening my gun and starting to shoot it. That's what they want you to do. So don't do that when it happens, because that's what
all right. Well, we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks.
Exactly.
So God bless. Have a great week, Yossi, and we'll see you next week.
Take care. Shalom, everybody. Bye-bye.
If you missed today's show or want to watch it again or want to tell someone where they can watch this episode, go to lambnetwork.tv, where you will find this show and all other live Lamb Show archives in the on-demand section of the website. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to tell somebody about the Messianic Lamb Network.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.